You know, um, just thinking back about my personal experience with dealing with racism and dealing with oppression and just so much stuff that happens in American history that people like to want to ignore or just bypass and say, "Oh, it happens to everybody," which makes me upset. It really does. Let's be honest with everybody. It makes me upset. You know, speaking from my personal experience and my family's experience, you can't tell me that systemic racism and oppression and overall racism isn't real. It is not something that we've made up. It's not something that is something that we just keep bringing up just to have a topic to talk about. If this is literally something that happens in our lives on a daily basis, and it's exhausting to continue this fight for inequality. Why do you believe we're going to bring up these conversations every single time? It's not just because we're trying to cause trouble. It's because we're tired of it and we want things to change. Personal experiences. That's what I want to focus on right now. My personal experiences, okay? Growing up in the inner city, um, with a single mom who always taught me to respect everyone. You know, no matter who they are, what they look like, uh, just respect them because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to love each other as Christians, as children of God. We're supposed to love each other, no matter who they are, where they're from, what they speak. Um, it doesn't matter. There are no borders when it comes to love and respect. There never are any borders. At least that's what in my mindset. That no matter who you are, what you did in your past or your present or where you're doing it in your future, you're going to be loved. You're going to be respected because you are a human being and you deserve that. Okay, that's in my mind. That was what I was taught, and I held on to that, and I still do. I hold on to that to this day. Now, a lot of people weren't taught that. They weren't taught that. Being a black kid in the city, you're automatically, and people don't want to believe this, but here's the truth. If you don't believe it, then that's on you. But I'm trying to tell you from my experience, from my personal experience, that this is what happens. As a black kid, you are already targeted and you're already stereotyped and already looked at as you're not going to be anybody. You're not going to make it. You're not going to be successful. You're not going to go anywhere with your life. You're going to be in the streets, getting in trouble, getting locked up, being a drug dealer. You're going to be, out there shooting people on the streets. You're going to be doing this, doing that. It was so much. And the worst part of it is, as I grew up, I had long hair. Still do now. I still have my long hair. Long hair. I had braids, and I was a, teenager. I was a big kid. I was a big black teenager. I was a muscle. I had muscles. I looked in people's eyes. I looked intimidating. Me, I looked intimidating. Like I wouldn't hurt a fly. I never got in a fight in my entire life. There was no reason for me to fight. Like I said, I respected everybody. There was no reason for me to be aggressive with anybody. But I was the one that was looked at as a threat. Now, personal experiences. Growing up, going to different stores and going to just walking down certain streets that were outside the city limits. You are looked at as a black person. It's strange to see a black person in a suburban area. Unfortunately, that's legit how it works. It is rare to see a black person in the suburban area, and when it happens, it is known. A group of friends of mine, me and my group of friends of mine are, we have people that lived outside the city because we have friends all over, and I have never had to I had never had the feeling of saying to myself like this doesn't feel right. being here. I don't feel comfortable being here. But walking down a community with a suburban area with a lot of people, a lot of white people that lived in the area, and being the only black kid walking down there in the streets or just on the sidewalk, the looks that you get, like the looks that I got as a teenager walking down a suburban area was disturbing. You know, I had people looking at me like just confused, like I was like looking to rob somebody's house. Like, yeah. I had people look at me like I was looking to cause trouble or looking to wreak havoc on their neighborhood because I was out of my comfort zone. I was in a area that I didn't belong in, and that's I don't understand what had happened as a kid. Like I told you, when I was being raised, my mom taught me to respect everyone, no matter what they look like, no matter what they, how they spoke, no matter what. I was taught to respect everyone. But for some reason, I walked into a neighborhood that I was unknown territory for myself, and it looked like I walked into another world, and people didn't have that same mindset as mine, as to respect everyone, and all that. I had a family on that same street I was walking in. I had a family who had their kids outside, you know, and saw me walking down the street. I had it's sad to say, but it's just perception of America, unfortunately. I had shorts on. It's a nice day. Shorts on. Had my one of my beaters, you know, and my braids were done. I feel like I was going to play basketball, and to walk close to a house, just walking past our house, and to hear a parent or just see a parent look at me and like rush her kids off the lawn closer to the house until I was gone because she didn't think it was safe for them to be out there while I walked past. How is that right? How is that right? If anybody, I feel like if anybody else walked down that street, anybody else walking down that street, this would never happen. But when a person of color that supposedly doesn't belong or fit in that area, or that's out of the norm for them, come into that area just to walk down the street, they think it's like the end of the world. I was stereotyped already as a teenager. I was stereotyped since I was a kid, even younger than that. Imagine another personal experience. Imagine just walking into a store, or just walking into a mall, and then there's a group of your friends, you and your friends, just walking into the mall, having a good time, not disturbing anybody. But for some reason, a security guard looks at you, looks at the group of you guys, and assumes that you're up to no good, and asks you to leave. I don't know how much I can explain. Like I don't know how else I can paint a picture for you guys of how crazy stereotypes can be, how crazy perceptions of people of color toward people of color are damaging. When you are labeled before you walk into a door of a building, if you are labeled before you hit one sidewalk, walking down the street, already people looking at you in a different light because you don't belong there. Because you're black. You're black. Basically, you're darker than everybody else on the street. You don't belong. Something's wrong when you're in this area. You don't belong in this territory. How much have we grown in America? How much have we grown in America when people still have that same mindset from back in the day in the civil rights era. How much have we grown? Not enough. Not enough. Personal experience. Let's jump toward college life. Let's jump toward college life. Why not? Coming from York City, heavy populated people of color community, very diverse, loved it, always will love it. And moving up to Williamsport, it's a it's a small town in the mountains. It feels like there's a college up there. There's a few colleges up there in that area, and not a lot of diversity. Not a lot at all. It's not, you know, um, it's like it's like a celebration that you have, like when a person of color sees another person of color. Like, wow, there's somebody like me up here. Thank God. Like it's a celebration because when you're when you're a person of color in a all white area, a majority of white area, you feel like an outcast. And I want people to understand that too. This is not easy. Being a black person in certain areas that are heavy populated white areas. Because people like this throwing it out there. The students that some of the students, let me say that, some of the students, some of the white students who went to the college with me are so uneducated or so closed off to the world that they've never seen a black person in their lives ever until they get to college, until they got to the college. It was like if you're living under a it's like for black people up in that area, you're living under a microscope. It's like you're living as a exhibit at a museum or an exhibit or some kind of like an animal at a zoo. It's like it's like we're like a mysterious creature to them because of our hair texture, our skin color, the way we talk. Like they hear, for example, so many students up on campus at our college listen to rap, hip hop, and then they watch movies and all that stuff, and they assume that's what Black America is. They assume that all we do is sell drugs, all we do is play basketball, all we do is rap, and like we all we do is smoke, all we do is drink, all we do is certain things that they see, but they never, unfortunately, their parents or their guardians never say, hey, this isn't the population. This what you see right here isn't representation of who the people really are. And I need you to do your education. I need you to experience who black people really are. Like let's educate. Let's actually meet a black person and actually have a conversation with them. Don't go off of what you see in the media or what you see in the news or the music videos. Like that's just for entertainment. It's not real. But parents and guardians don't do that. They shelter and those parents sheltered and covered their kids and made them so unaware of the world around them that when they went to freaking college, it was such a culture clash. Let me give you a heads up. When it comes to Black Americans, y'all, white America, please, let me just tell you this. Do not go up to a black woman or a black man and say, can I touch your hair? Don't do that. Like honestly, don't do that. This is not. We're not kid. We're not. We're not animals that you can pet. We're not. This is not an exhibit. Maybe yes, you haven't seen it before, but talk to us like a conversation. Like we're people. We're not a you know a mysterious creature that just popped up out of nowhere. We're human beings. Don't don't ask us if you can have permission to say the N-word. No. Like, seriously. Like, these are things that happened to me in college. Like, what? Can I touch your hair? Can I say the N-word? Can I just get this one pass and say the N-word? No. It's no. No. It's no, you can't. It's exhausting. Another example in college, my freshman year, we were me and my group of my friends, we're all kids of color. All, I wouldn't say kids, young adults of color. We're in our freshman dorm in the lounge area, doing our homeworks, and just having a good time, enjoying each other's company, hanging out. And then there's this one kid who decided to, him and his group of friends, group of white kids, decided to come out, either from eating something or coming back into the door from doing whatever they got to do. Coming into the building, and they're going to the elevator, push the button, hanging out, whatever, laughing, joking around. They get into the elevator, and as the door closes, one kid decides to scream the N-word as the door closes at us. He thought that was a joke. He thought that was a joke. So it took us off guard for a minute. I'm not gonna lie, it took us off guard for a minute. We weren't prepared. Nobody's prepared to just randomly hear that scream toward them. Like it's not something that as a millennial we think we're gonna hear get yelled at. That term was so used, like it was so old. It's used back in the day to be disrespectful, and it's in our time and era, a millennial white kid still thought it was a smart idea to yell the N-word at a group of black students. Huh. Okay. We had two we had two options to handle this situation. One, we could become the stereotypical community of black people, and be upset and rage and go find the kid. Or two, beat that stereotype and not allow that person, that childish, ignorant kid, to allow us to stoop down to his level. And we took that route. We took the route to keep it peaceful as much as possible. So we went to the security guard, told the security guard, hey, this is what happened. The kid that just went in the elevator, one of those kids in the elevator just yelled the N-word at us. Can you find him on camera? And can we report it? Security guard, all for it. He said, no, this is not cool. I'm not accepting this. He went and he looked at the tapes, reported it to the resident coordinator who was in charge of the housing area, who happened to be a black woman, a woman of color. And then she was huge on diversity, inclusion, respect for all people, no matter who they are, their race, their gender, their sexual orientation. Doesn't matter. If you're on campus, you're going to respect everybody and give everybody respect, just like my mom told me when I was younger. Respect everyone, no matter who they are, where they're from, what they believe, how they talk. Respect everyone. So she found out who it was, and she's like, I'm not making this easy on him. I'm not letting this go. I'm not letting this go. No, we have no tolerance for that hate speech in here. We have no tolerance for racism in our dorm, on our area, on our campus at all. So she had him write an apology letter to us all, and also he was kicked out of the dorms the next day. He had to go. That's the change we need to see. Holding people accountable for their actions is all we are asking from everyone. That is the only thing we are asking, is holding people accountable and making sure we are treated equally. Her actions to follow through with this situation and make sure that that student was held responsible and accountable for his actions was the biggest victory by far in my college career. Well, that was the only, there's more of them, but that was a huge major point in my college career. That was great. And speaking on other experiences, not just mine, but just friends of mine that were attending at college as well. Imagine two black girls walking on campus on a sidewalk, just minding their business, just going about their day, having a good time, just minding their business, not bothering anybody. But a white student in a pickup truck, of all things, a pickup truck and a Confederate flag flying in the background, decides to get on to the sidewalk and attempt to hit the two black girls. And he thought it was a joke. How is that okay? How is that something that we have to ignore? Why is that something that we need to ignore? Why is this something that people aren't addressing? Why is this something we are told to be quiet about, to stop crying about, to stop bringing up race and all this stuff? If this is personal experience that happens to us all the time, if we are looked at differently and we're treated differently, like we don't matter, that our lives don't matter, we have an issue. We have an issue. Let's fast forward real quick to when I became a community outreach director at my job. I'm going to use that director at my job, my current job right now. I don't like politics. I'm just putting that out there now. Politics is it's exhausting, guys. It really is. But this certain election was a personal. It broke me a little bit. It broke me a lot when President Trump was elected, or when during this election term or coming the first one, when he first got around and started running for president. I had so many students, so many kids of color who went to a technical school and were treated so poorly by white students. It was sickening. We had Hispanic students who were told to go back to Mexico, that Trump's going to build a wall and you're going to be deported. We had black students and Hispanic students, students of color, spit on. We have students of color disrespected and called different names, racial slurs. There was so much animosity and tension, racial tension, in our area, in that technical school, against students of color. And it wasn't only from the white students. It was from some of the professors or their teachers as well. But we're not allowed to speak about race. We're not allowed to talk about race. We're not allowed to, talk about racial injustice. We're not allowed to talk about race. We're not allowed to talk about those things. We're not allowed to, because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. We need to stop talking about race, because if we stop talking about race, then that ends racism. If we stop talking about race, that's when we end racism. Not if we eliminate the hate in somebody else's heart. toward other people of other skin tones. That eliminates racism. No, if we stop talking about race in general, that eliminates racism. That is the most idiotic, idiotic statement I've ever heard in my life. It doesn't work that way, y'all. It does not work that way. You have to eliminate the hate in someone else's heart. Like, if somebody has hate in their heart for somebody that looks different than them, that talks different than them, that's from a different area from them, that's the problem. If people believe that they're superior than other people from different races, that's the problem. If we have students, that tell other students who look different than them that they need to go back to Africa or Mexico, or stop speaking Spanish and start speaking English because this is America, that's the problem. When it comes to my kids in my community, I will always become a voice for them. I will always be a voice for them, no matter who they are, what color they are. I will be a voice for them. And when I see my youth be attacked by adults because of what they're speaking up for, or what they're speaking up against, because of their experiences as being people of students of color, and the hate that they are getting because they're a certain race or a certain skin color, and adults are telling them to stop talking about that stuff, you got the wrong people to say that to. You can't tell me to stop talking. You can't tell me to change the narrative or ignore that or stop talking about race. It's not that simple. When I have students of color coming into my youth center in tears, and they're upset because white students are saying and calling them so many different racial slurs and telling them to go back to Africa or go back to Mexico, and they are born in America in general, we have a problem. Personal experiences. When I have to console students and youth of color, just youth of color in general, because of all the animosity and hate that they are getting from schools that are supposed to teach them about acceptance and respect and life lessons and appreciation of all types of people. If they're coming to my youth center and telling me how upset they are because their teacher telling them about talking to them about stop bringing up race and having students belittle their opinion and treat them differently and bullying them because they're black or Hispanic or brown or people, students of color, just color in general. When I have those students coming in and telling me this is what's going on, and there's people out in our community who say they support our youth, who love our youth, and they tell me and tell the youth that, or just say everything in the book to ignore the issue that is in front of them, we have an issue. When we have young students of color who are saying, hey, I'm tired of seeing our black and brown people die in the hands of police brutality. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Not saying all lives don't matter, but right now in this society that we live in, for the longest time in American history, when it comes to law enforcement and to different systems set up in American history, black lives have not mattered. This is the time that we have to say we need to embrace black lives, because in order for all lives to matter, black lives have to be included into that. And then, and then you have the group that says all lives matter. They say all lives matter in reverse of, in combative of Black Lives Matter. If all lives matter, oh man, this is tough. This is tough. If all lives matter to you, if you say all lives matter, do you actually mean that? Do you actually mean all lives matter? Let's find out.